Oh my God. Good luck to us.
Good job, Mo.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome to the Zoom episode. We're going nuts. We're just trying all different types of episodes. The New York, never seen before footage. The Zoom. How's everybody
Zoom.
feeling after the New York episode? Mo kept farting.
Okay, Beth. For once, it wasn't me. The New
Okay.
York episode, we were like,
Unhinged.
it felt like we hadn't slept for 4 days, even though we had slept.
And we did a good job. We had a great vacation together and
Yeah, we did.
birthday. And now here we are. We're both on the road, except I'm at my house, but I was just on the road
You
yesterday.
you were in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah, and that's actually where our sweet treat is going to be from.
Is it
And
a
I'm going to
cow?
feed it to you through the thing.
It,
It's a Rice Krispie treat.
oh, that's fun. I got these for you. I'm gonna give them to you when I get to LA, but they're these Golden Girls
Ooh, I love it.
candies. They're strawberry vanilla cheesecake candies. So they're probably
What?
disgusting and 20 years old.
In what form? And like a cookie?
I
A
haven't
cookie.
Yeah, it's a cookie croissant inside this little box.
And
Thank
I
you for
got,
being
and I went, crisp. I'm off.
man.
Okay, so brown butter Rice Krispie marshmallow, butter, salt, vanilla, 5 ounces from Antoinette Bakery and Cafe in Tulsa, Oklahoma, located at 207 North Main Street for people who are interested.
I love you giving the ounces.
That's what's happening. And I
Okay.
already took a couple bites without you, so it's in a Ziploc.
Oh, that looks delicious, actually. I
Yeah, I
love
miss
Rice
you
Krispie treats. Oh my God, I miss you. We were together for
ever.
like every hour of the day
I think
last
it goes
week.
to, yeah, and only me and Alana got in a fight over the
Yeah.
splash page.
Yeah, you guys were being very hard-headed about there being a splash page to sign up for the internet or something at the hotel.
Pretty good sign.
The fights that friends have, or that we have with our friends, they're so different than they used to be. Like, I remember genuinely, I mean, the fights I had with like a high school friend and tearing it, I mean, like not talking for 4 years about, because like I said, I told someone's crush that they had a crush on them or whatever.
That's exactly what I was about to think that you were going to say.
Hmm. That was
That, or
always,
I should say, thinking you were going to say.
and there's
Yeah,
nothing you
and
can
that
say at that age. There's nothing you can say that will make them forgive you because at that age we want to be mad at each other just to like test it out and to
right.
have
You're
drama.
pushing boundaries. You're finding the lines. But yeah, it's true. It was such a betrayal, and there was sick, twisted joy you got out of being like, "Do you want me to tell you a secret?
Hmm.
This person likes you," and it's like such a violation of their boundary. And
Yeah.
it's like it's true. Like you were untrustworthy if you were going to share that information.
Yeah. I mean,
But then in some ways, is there not a tinge of wanting to help, which would be like, you like each other, find out.
well, that's what you say in defense of yourself in
To
court. You
me,
say,
in court, yeah. But to
yes.
me, it's a version of it has flavors of when you're watching a scary movie and you're like, he's right behind you. How do you not see he's right behind you? So you have those moments too when you're watching something frustrated or they're not creating that love connection. So it's like,
Hmm.
just say you like each other. Just grow up and say it out loud.
And they always end up together and then they both hate you for some reason.
Yeah, what the heck? Who are we talking about?
Well, I did, I mean, actually she is a friend of mine, but we got in some fight due to that when we were both volunteer softball coaches. And so all the girls on the softball team
This is
knew they
starting
were
to
like,
sound like our movie.
I know, they're all 8-year-olds and they knew that the coaches were in a fight. And so they kind of like had their favorite coach who they were on their side. And like
Okay.
looking back, it's like, we were like 8 years older than these kids, but we felt like we were like 30 years
40s,
older. Yeah.
grizzled old lady. Um,
We can drive.
hey, I started watching UK Love is Blind. That's another thing
Mm-hmm.
that made me think of that because it's, we're obviously seeing an edit. This is reality television. Sometimes people are there for the right reasons, and other times there's people who want to be famous. I think, especially for the UK version, since it seems to my knowledge to be newer, there are still people who are actually like, I can't find anybody. I want to come on here and maybe I'll figure it out. And then there's people who are like, have plans just to stay on the show as long as possible. So they got to cast a wider net. Anyway, we see it all. They don't. And I have compassion for that. But I'm like yelling at a woman through the screen, like, no, he's terrible. He's there. And you know what's interesting? Can I do a spoiler, even though I don't remember anybody's name?
Yeah, please. I don't know anything about
She's,
it.
similarly to regular Love is Blind, she's down to like two connections. And one of them she really likes and has like you can tell they're like sort of kindred spirits, but he's being reasonable by saying, like, yeah, you know what? I'm still feeling unsure about asking you to marry me. Like, duh, we've talked for a
Mm-hmm.
week. That's the human response, even though, yes, it's this experiment. Then you have the other guy who basically just got rejected by his other option. So then he pours it on with this girl, like, I'm just ready. I can't wait to see you, like putting it out there, like it's already going to happen, like he's going to propose and they'll get to meet. And that's what she wanted. So she's not getting the real guy she has a connection with. He's like, I'm a little unsure, but I like you a lot. Like I'm falling for you. And then the other guy is like, oh, that one didn't work out. I'm going to go for this one. I can't wait to meet you. I love you. I'm so sure. Okay.
Yeah.
And so she's thinking she gets to hear what she wants. And he's like, I can't wait. I'm going to run to you. I'm going to pick you up. And she goes, well, I don't know if you can do that. And she goes, oh, wait, sorry, I'm not supposed to say anything about my appearance.
Wait, this
And
is
it's,
Love is oh, this is Love is Blind. First, I honestly thought you were talking about Love Island this whole time. Okay,
oh,
I'm
sorry.
so no, 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 please go. I love this. I'm in.
Okay. So she's like, you might not be able to pick me up. And she's, oh, wait, sorry, you're not supposed to say anything about your appearance. Now, the interesting thing is, like, that's a reaction. That would be a reaction, unfortunately, sometimes you would say, like,
Yeah,
but your body, I could pick you up, and you're strong and solid. And
you've
um,
picked me up
yes.
on
And so,
stage.
like, you would say that too. And that doesn't mean, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, if I'm picturing you, then you'd be maybe someone who's on the fatter side, which is also totally cool. But this woman, I would say too, probably smaller than you. And, she just looks, I don't know what to say. Like in terms of very, very thin to fat, she's in the middle, and
Mm-hmm.
towards probably on the thinner side. So it was interesting she even said that. I'm not surprised because, again, women
Is
tend
she
to say
tall?
things. Not really. It's hard to tell.
Yeah,
It would just be like looking at somebody and going, oh, you don't look hard to pick up, you
right.
know? So then he goes back to the men's room, and this is his last ditch effort. So he's like gonna stick with it no matter what. But he can't help himself. He says to the guys like, "No, it went well. Couldn't have gone better." He knows she still has a connection with another guy, and he's like kind of trying to like his eyes are like darting like they do when they're like watching the
Mm-hmm.
other couples. And but he vocalizes it. He says it. He goes, "She just said something weird," and he brings up the fact that she might be hard to pick up. And he's like, yeah, and I love some meat, is what he said. But like he brought it up like, oh, that's weird.
He's
And
curious. Yeah.
so the guy who genuinely has the connection with her, he had to make a choice and say, do I tell her that I heard him say that? He's like, he's like, I care enough about her that even if she doesn't pick me, I want her to know about that guy.
Yeah.
That he like switched paths so quickly that, and these are the weird parts about these shows. Speaking of like what you
Yeah.
said, Love Island, which is like they do pivot quickly because like and sometimes you're mad at them, but you're like, but they've known each other for 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually the behavior is actually a study in how I would say more than average, above average, uh how women act, which is like, oh, we
Mm-hmm.
went on one date, I guess we're married, I have to be committed to you. When in reality it's like, hey, probably keep your options open, you don't know if it's the right
Yeah.
person yet. But the
Yeah.
behavior of these reality shows is how I've been in the past as a young woman, which is like, oh god, he took me out to eat, I owe him my life.
Yeah. Well,
you
I have to
know
have children with him now because he bought me
Yeah,
a
a
salad.
drink. Exactly. And I'm sure,
I mean,
that's rude and terrible thing.
Sam, when we met, I didn't watch any of the Bachelor or the Love shows. And then I started to watch them with her family because they like do family viewing and it's fun. It's like a night for them. And they like, they eat. And then her dad pretends this was like when Chris Harrison was the host and he would like, do impressions of Chris Harrison and they'd have to pause it and make him do it. So it was like super fun. And Sam's mom said she was like, I actually think it's really good to watch this with your daughters who are starting to date because like it is like you said, it's like a study and how we date, and you can like explain the mistakes to your daughters as you're watching it, and they can see it firsthand.
Yeah, I think the tough part about watching the Love uh, Island stuff is, they're young, and you have to give them some grace because my goodness,
Hmm.
it's 360 recording of like, head to butthole. So it's
Yeah.
like crazy what we're seeing. I love the part. Me and Adam are like really early in the series because Carly recommended it, the director, and so we're like, okay,
Oh
we'll
yeah.
we'll try it or whatever. And it was hard for us to like lock in because it was like, what is happening? And these people are so tough to watch because it's like, actually, I'm and
The,
you're like, oh no, I can't watch this that long. But it was so funny. We were watching last night, and they're all in their bikinis, and the guys are in short shorts or trunks, and then they get the letter that's like, tonight it's time to get down to your skivvies. It's lingerie night or underwear night. It's like they're all already in their underwear
that's
constantly. What do you
so
now it's just
it
more
should be
see-through?
that should be the opposite. It should be like it's turtleneck night.
It's sweats night.
I haven't
Exactly.
gotten Love Island seems like such a big, it's kind of like Grey's Anatomy to me, where I'm like, I can't, like, where do I even begin? I can't begin at the beginning. It's,
It'll
25
take you 4 years.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but Sam watches it, and I was thinking about it because Sam basically, she only watches Love Island. Like, and she has it on her iPad. So she's watching
Okay.
Love Island or she's watching Angel City Soccer. And that's pretty much it.
Is
And
that a real soccer team?
yeah,
That's
that's the
us,
LA.
right?
Yeah,
The
that's
women's.
the LA women's team.
Yeah.
She, by the way, she got season ticket to Angel City, and this is like her second year having season ticket. So she clearly wants it to be
Really?
her alone time.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
But anyway, I was thinking, like Cleo has said, like, mommy watching Love Island sort of thing. And I was like, it is funny that that's the programs that, like, when I was 4 years old, like I was watching my mom watch Roseanne and Oprah and, Jenny Jones, Lisa,
Yep.
all of those shows, which is, those are like, our own version of reality shows, but that like she's going to remember us watching Love Island, Love is Blind, Squid Games,
Remember
podcasts
when
on
you watched
YouTube.
the game where people die if they get it wrong? Scary.
Mommy, you remember when you guys would watch crowd work specials on YouTube?
Um, we did. Well, we watched it on the computer. I wonder what is more like that was influential. I used to love Ricky Lake.
Oh, same.
Jerry Springer felt wrong to watch. Like it felt like, ooh, I shouldn't be watching this. But
I
even as a kid, you could tell it was fake.
I guess so. I mean, when I remember when people at school said Jerry Springer is fake, and I was like, "What? That's real. You can't fake that." Like in
Really?
my
You were
yeah,
arguing the real side?
yeah, because like we didn't have enough evidence of like that sort of like acting out. Like now you go on TikTok and you're like, this isn't a real prank. These people in, Cleveland, Ohio are acting this out in their house.
Yeah, I'm like, you
You are
know,
not the father.
you are not. And we found out after the paternity test, that was Maury in the
Yeah,
paternity
I
test
loved that.
shows. You are not the every ah.
I hope I haven't said this on this podcast yet, but one of the first jokes I remember telling
Yeah.
was, just listen to this. Let's see if I can
Is this
remember
the
it.
joke? Okay.
Here it goes. Okay. And like then telling it at school and being like, maybe I'm funny. Okay. Uh, did you hear that Ellen DeGeneres died? Yeah, they found her face down in Ricky Lake. How funny that it was like a lesbian joke too.
Did you write it?
No, no, no. It was just a joke I heard, and so I would like tell it at school, and I was like, it's just so funny that that's the
I
one that
love that.
I was like, it's funny because she's a lesbian.
I love that.
I'm like, oh God, my boyfriend loves that joke. We
And he
laugh
loves
about it,
me. And I
and
love
we love each
him.
other. We
And we
love
love
to
it.
listen to Nora Jones together in his Jeep.
Pretty cool. He had a Jeep.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I can't stop yawning. I feel like if I went to Dr. House, he'd be like, "Well, that's because there's a tumor taking over your brain."
Doctor Who?
House,
Who's that?
that TV show, man, Hugh. He was always like
Oh,
diagnosing people with stuff. It was like an ER show or something. Remember?
I only know
House.
Doctor Now
Oh,
from
you
600 Pound
gained
Life.
30 pounds this month.
Yes, he is so like matter of fact that it's
He's the
um
best. He's
yeah,
unshakable,
he really is.
unflappable.
I wish he could just be like a regular doctor too. Like I'd love to just like go and be like, why why do I have dry patches on my skin? Or, that
And he
sort
would
of
be
thing.
like, "You ate 30 pounds of wheat this month." And then
Yeah.
if you
Well,
stop eating it,
he would be like, "You've been eating a lot of candy for your podcast. I've been watching it on YouTube."
I think I've yawned 6 times. What do you think it is? A deficiency?
Well, I will
Should I,
say you were
what if I Google it?
why yawning?
Yeah, repeatedly yawning. Yawning excessively is a condition where a person yawns more often than normal. This condition is caused by various
Okay.
reasons, such as boredom,
Oh my God, it's me, isn't it? Fucking bitch.
sleepless sleepiness, or stress. It can also be an underlying
Oh, I hate when they do
medical
this.
condition
No,
such as sleep apnea, anxiety, or depression. Boom, boom, boom.
I don't like when they do that thing when you're like, I have a pimple, and they're like, it could be due to an underlying condition. You're like,
Or you're a big fat idiot, you hoe.
you fucking
Sorry.
hoe. That's our web MDB. MDB.
Hey, what should we I want to ask our listeners to call in again because I love getting voicemails. And what if we ask them to call in and let us know stuff that they've Googled medically?
Yeah, I love that.
You could call, our number is pre-beg IJKU or 773-234-4558. And that's
I
the
don't want
Chicago
to
number.
like violate any
HIPAA?
HIPAA. Yeah, but I also want to know people's medical conditions if they had something come up and then it went away, or if they want to share anything with their medical history. That is so interesting to me. That's my
Okay.
algorithm.
Do you want me to, and then we can go, I'll give one prompt, which would be, remember when I had the spots on the top of my ankle?
Yes.
To the point where even at Netflix's A Joke Fest 2 years ago, the photograph that went up, and I love it. It's me in my blue suit, and I'm wearing these little shoes I like from Charlotte Stone. Somebody even on the Instagram wrote, "Oh, are those field hockey bruises or something? Field hockey war wounds or something?" Because they could see it in the photo, and it is like it looks like the outline of an island, basically on the tops of my ankles.
Imagine
And
messaging that.
it was a comment. It was, and
Wow.
anyway, after seeing multiple doctors, initially I thought I had like ringworm or something. Then we thought it was my shoes. Like then we thought it was field hockey because I felt like it came up there. But it's called granular annuloma. And from what I learned, I mean, it's not going away. If I want it to go away, it'll go away on its own. I could potentially use a steroid cream or shoot steroids in it, which I'm not doing because why would I do that? It's um I think there's different ways you can get to it, but from what I understand, basically it showed up after COVID. So basically your body weathers a virus and then these little sort of like rings or patches that look like, they're just oddly shaped. Mine kind
Yeah.
of looks like Ireland actually on my top left
Oh,
ankle.
and are you
Um,
Irish?
Stop what I'm running. Leah, if you could amplify that.
Yes,
Um,
please repeat it.
Top of the morning to ya. Let's stop doing it.
I
Why would I
didn't
do it
think,
again? Um,
Maureen. I
I
didn't think
did,
it gets Maureen.
Marine. I had to take dialects class in theater school.
It
I'm trying.
obviously it
I'm trying to
stuck.
think what the Irish said. Shut up. I'm trying to think about what the Irish sentence was because you would always have a sentence to like get you into it.
Yeah. Sam
And
was telling me like
haven't we talked about this on the pod?
didn't I don't think so, because I was trying to do an Irish accent for my joke, and it's like, oh
Irish is
no,
hard.
I didn't think it gets Maureen. Oh, and then it'd be like, oh no, not another Fargate. That was just about me coming out after my brother. But I will say I think the crowds don't like it.
You could correct and be like, no, I'm the female version, which is a dyke.
I'm a
Dyke.
doik. Boink.
Right? Right. Um, Gosh, I had such an interesting conversation with the Dublin cabbie that drove me to the airport last summer. I went and visited Jane Fry, one of my college friends, who opened a Michelin star restaurant with her husband called
Wow.
Bowyer Street in Dublin, Ireland. And I was on my way back from seeing the girls at Edinburgh Fest, Natalie Palamides and Courtney Peroso. And it was just the tail end of our trip and the field hockey trip for the tournament in Europe. And my cabbie, Noel, we had a great conversation. I don't know how we got here. I think it honestly
Hmm.
was like, what do you do? And sometimes we joke and say I made the mistake of telling somebody I was a comic. We joke like that because it's like, yeah, sometimes it opens a can of worms. It's just like, oh God,
Yes.
you don't know who I am anyway. So weird.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that's what it was. I was like, I'm actually a comic. I just decided to tell him,
Yeah.
and he launched right in to women accusing men of assault. Like that's like right where
What?
his mind went. And he's like, "Oh, did you hear about the Playboy girls? Um, accusing all these guys all these years later. Why now? You know?" And I was like, "Oh, well, time doesn't unrape a person." Sorry, trigger
That's
warning.
that's a great
And
line.
and we had actually a decent conversation about it. I was like, "Hey,
Yeah.
I said, "Do you really want to know my perspective?" I was like, because you know what I'm going to say, and probably what our listeners would assume I would say, which is like they sign up to be models at the Playboy Mansion, not to get sexually assaulted, not to get
Yeah.
touched or fingered or grabbed by anybody who wanted to grab them,
Yeah.
unless there was some contract they signed that said when you live at the Playboy Mansion, you may be groped, fingered, grabbed, kissed, made to perform sexual acts. Like, if that's something they signed it. That's their choice. But it sounds like no.
Yeah.
And people who went there, it was like a freaking petting zoo for them, but women. And so when he was just saying, why now? I was like, because sometimes it takes a while to realize what happened to you, because sometimes you're ashamed of it. So you just want it to go away, but it actually doesn't go away. It festers within
Hmm.
you. And when you finally are in a place where you go, you know what, that wasn't all right, or I realize what happened, then you go, I should say something because it's still happening 30 years later, 40 years later, whatever it is. There's usually a reason. And it's not
Hmm.
because they want to be known as the most famous sexual assault victim.
Right.
Sorry, end of my soapbox. But
Well,
he
do
did
you
it.
feel like you
He
changed him?
thanked he thanked me for the
Okay.
conversation, and I wrote about it afterwards. So I don't remember. Meaning like I could go back and review what I wrote, and then I would be able to be more specific right now with what he said. But I didn't come at him. I just said, if you really want to know, here's what I think. And he, at the end, he's handing me my bags, and he said, you know, thanks for the conversation. I appreciate it.
I like that because a lot of times when you get into like a cab or an Uber and they say something like that, they're just like they just want to say something and they don't want to hear anyone's perspective. Like they want to just like monologue in the front of the car. And it's really tough because like even if you're in the passenger or even if you're in the back, you want to say like you don't want to offend like it's so hard when somebody's like in charge of your life in a way where I'm like, oh my God, if I say my opinion, are they gonna like rear off the road? Are they gonna
It's
like
almost a perfect metaphor for what it feels like to be sometimes a woman in an uncomfortable situation with a man,
mhm.
which is like people say, well, why didn't you say anything? It's like violence?
Yeah,
Maybe
fear.
that's why I didn't say anything.
That's why, I mean, most of the time, that's why I always put quiet on the Uber rides because I'm so done with all of those conversations of the one-sided conversations and like someone asking me a question, not listening for 3 words of what I'm saying, and then going off on their soapbox. And I'm like, I didn't fucking pay any tickets to this show. Okay. I was like, I will pay more money to get you to stop telling me your
Does it cost
opinion.
more to put quiet?
No.
Oh, I was gonna
It
say,
only,
I
yeah, only if
oddly
you're a
enough,
woman.
you'll never believe it. Mine. My settings are clicked to talk loud, please wear a lot of cologne, and fall asleep. Be
Fall
sleepy.
asleep. Fall asleep and write down my address when you drop me off.
Yeah, I'm sure, and I'm sure they're readily available on the internet, but I'm sure there are some pretty horrific Uber stories about people getting followed home or stalked
Oh,
or something scary.
terrible.
I don't know
Yeah.
about them because I don't want to right now, but
It's really terrible too because people will be like, well, have them drop you off like a block from your house. And I'm like, I want to go
what
all the way
happens
to my
between
door.
that block and my house? It's like the stranger you know for 15 minutes or the stranger who's out there that you just absolutely don't know who's
Yeah,
hiding in the
exact.
bush.
And I'm just like, I don't, it's out of pure laziness. I'm like, I don't want to, I was like, it's so close, just keep going. And I've
But
got this
also,
big bag.
most of what we've learned and people will always tell you is it's going to be the person you know that hurt you. Typically,
Hmm.
it's a lot less these random guys hiding in a bush or whatever you want to say, random people hiding in bushes, and more somebody you know or somebody you've known, or
Yeah,
I don't know. Typically,
man, that reminds me of that show I Survived. And that's why I had to stop watching that show because I would just be afraid every ride, every walk, I was just like,
I
looking
think it's
behind me.
it's trust your instincts, and
Hmm.
when alarms go off in your body, listen, even if you're going to offend, you
It'd be
gotta.
really helpful to have like classes like, with self-defense, like teaching women in particular to like, don't worry about being polite. Like,
Yeah,
almost like, politeness can kill you because you're just like, oh, well, I don't want to go across the street because I don't want to look like I'm, whatever. And you're just like, no, if you feel like you need to cross the street, cross the fucking street.
yeah, and look back and go, sorry, I farted.
Yeah, be funny.
Thanks for the conversation.
This is our self-defense comedy course that we're teaching.
I do have a sweet story from the road.
I love it. What is it?
So since I saw you guys last, I did the Comedy Attic in Bloomington, and
Indiana.
I've
Indiana.
yep,
Okay.
it's basically Indiana University's campus. So I've been going there for freaking probably 20 years. I don't even know. To visit Fiona went there, and Lauren Martin, a couple other people I grew up with. But so I've been going to that club for over 10 years. First time probably opening for Janine Garofalo, and then I
Wow.
started headlining. And so when that happens, like we've talked about this, when you're on the road that long, ideally you're, creating an audience in that town and relationships. So these this couple came and brought me these. It's a little photo of us from a time I came in the
Oh,
past. Yeah, it's so cute. They printed it.
wow.
They basically printed these photos, little cards, and laminated them. And her message to me, Hannah's, was like, we always come out when we every time you visit, my husband and I come declare a date night and buy tickets to see you. Thanks for all you do for your fans. And then she said, something complimenting my storytelling, and she said, I try to use your style to keep my students engaged. And then his card says, I mean, was printing, cutting, and laminating old photos of us kind of weird? Red flag? Sure. But I'm just a teacher, so it makes this gesture sweet instead of psychotic.
I was
And then,
you that was the first question I was going to ask is, are they teachers? Because who has a
yeah,
lamination machine?
I know, it's so sweet. And then he said, I know how much it means to me when my students slash audience tell me I've made a difference in their lives, and you deserve the same. Thanks for helping us laugh through hard times.
That's so
Isn't that so
sweet.
kind? It really made my day. That was like a really refueling weekend just to sort of believe in myself again,
Hmm.
in my talent, and in the sense that like I am good at my job, and I've worked really hard for a long time to have connections with people that I care about who come to see me. And so it was really nice um, to do that,
Yeah, I think that's
to
sweet
go there that
because,
weekend.
yeah, and it's nice to have like when you get stuff like that because sometimes, people give you a compliment or whatever. You're like, oh, thanks so much. Yeah, yeah, thank you. And then it's just like, you really don't, you need to soak some of these in. And I'm glad they
Mm-hmm.
laminated so that you
My
have the
tears roll right off.
reminder. Yeah. Someone loves me. Someone loves my vagina jokes.
Hey, I also have Wright Brothers jokes, bro.
That's true. You're the only comic that talks about the
I've got
Wright brothers.
I've got skydiving jokes, fake skydiving jokes.
You've got stuff for the guys.
You got some for the dudes too.
I would love to see in your joke notebook if you were like genuinely tried to make that effort to like, how can I get more male audience members, more male fans? And you're like, Wright brothers, skydiving.
Talking about landlord issues. Gosh, sometimes when I think about my landlord, I'm just like, I cannot believe some of the stuff they've done and said. When that other couple moved out of the front unit, they always would talk about like my landlords would always say like, oh, we're such good, those are our friends. And even they would say, the couple would say like, oh well, they're our friends, we've known them for years. And in my head I'm going, red flag. But when they were leaving, it just kind of goes, what I'm about to tell you just goes to show that like I am dealing with psychotic people. Even that couple, and I'm sure they play both sides all the time, like, me and the other units, and then they're obviously going to kiss butt to the landlord so they can either get a good
Yeah,
deal or whatever, remain
I
friends,
guess so. It's Hollywood.
I guess. And he goes, it was really unfair the way they treat you.
Oh,
And it was
that's
kind of nice.
validating.
Yeah, because it was like, yeah, I'm not being psychotic. They treat me very strangely because I don't kiss their butt. Because
Yeah,
when they act strange to me, I prickle.
yeah.
I'm not just like, oh, I'm so sorry. Especially like, because, whatever, we don't need to get into the nitty gritty, but I break down all my boxes because I worked in food service and you break down all your boxes before you put them in the dumpster. Duh.
Yeah,
Okay.
of
You step
course.
in it, it's very easy. I get why people don't because it takes time and it's annoying. But can I just
I
suggest
pretty much
stepping in the
do.
box?
I pretty
You break
much do, unless it's a hard box. Then I
you break
leave
them
it by the
down?
trash. Yeah,
Okay. Great. And I'm proud of you for that. I wasn't sure which way we
thanks.
would go on breakdown. But the one time Monica came over and left the box out front, she just wanted to like assemble a light for me while I was working. I think I was working on Strange Planet and she slept over and did that while I was doing the Zoom. My landlord comes over and is like, "Where's Beth?" And Monica was like, "Oh, she's actually working." And she goes, "Oh, of
Hmm.
course she is."
Burn.
And then because I do avoid them constantly as much as possible because I don't have anything to say to them other than I pay my rent. What more would you need from me? You
Yeah,
know? In fact, when I said stuff that was wrong with the place, they lost it on me and were really annoying about it. So why would I ever tell you anything that's ever wrong again? I never want to see you again. So enjoy what's wrong with the place when I move out. But anyway, she says, well, tell Beth because Monica left the box out front. I don't know why she didn't know where to put it. It's right by my front
hmm,
door.
yeah.
Tell Beth this isn't a concierge. She should break down her boxes. And Monica just like didn't know what to say. She goes, okay, and left because she was on her way out. Then they tell me later about the box. And I go, okay, well, that my friend did that as a favor. And I go, and what if I want to return the lamp? You broke it down without talking to me first? And she was like, I don't know. Which I did want to return the lamp. It didn't work out. And I broke one of the bowls.
That's why it didn't work out, but whatever.
The point is, she's a nightmare from hell. And I don't kiss her butt because why would I? I'm a kind person. But the minute you're like weird to me and say things like, it's not a concierge, I'm like, look at the labels of who doesn't break down their box and let me know if it's me. Investigate the recycling bin.
It's
How about
also
that?
just weird. It's like, it's obviously just like a power complex thing. And they're like, you should be respecting me because I'm powerful in your life. And like,
Yeah.
you should be kissing my ass. And you're just like they're probably used to people being like that. And then when they turn and they go, no, fuck you, I'm paying my rent. You're not my daddy,
Yeah.
mommy and daddy.
God, I think I told you I hid in my car last week. When I pulled in and they were there, I was like, oh, Jesus. And I just hid because I called either you or my mom and nobody picked up. So I just stayed in my car and I could hear her. She goes, what is she? Are you staying in her car? Ah, are you on a phone call or something? Okay. And then loudly she goes, bye, like this. And I'm like, I wouldn't put it past her to then do that as a trick to get me to come out. And then she's like, we're still here. But they did leave,
God,
thankfully. I'm like,
this
avoid me, like, do me the favor of avoiding me, like I avoid you.
this is like, I mean, like, it's not like you guys live in the same place, like in the same room, in the same apartment. Like, it's giving me like dorm vibes when you like didn't want to see your dorm mate. And so you would do things like be like, okay, well, I'm staying out until they're asleep and then I'm gonna come in.
Yeah,
Like,
because you don't
you
want to have
shouldn't
those
have to be
conversations.
avoiding somebody like that who doesn't live in your apartment.
I gotta get out of here. Remember when their daughter was like loudly talking about towing Shannon's car because she pulled her shoulder and I had it in the back in the guest spot that it was supposed to be. She's like, well, I guess we're just gonna like her mom. She like loves to talk everything on speakerphone. I guess we're just gonna have to tow it. So I'm like, you want me to hear that, right? Outside my door? So I go up around because she wouldn't answer her front door and I go, you're towing my friend's car? She's like, oh, well, we would never. It was my parents and, it was actually somebody else was complaining. I go, oh, who? I'll go talk to him right now. She's like, no, 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 it's not that big of a deal. And she's like, well, I said, just come knock on my door and tell me. She's like, well, you're always closed up down there. I go, are you saying because I don't have my door open in Los Angeles, California, in a neighborhood that's not like, you know what I mean? That I'm ring a doorbell or knock and say, hey,
Are
whose car is that?
are you going to be surprised if you find out when you're cleaning out to leave that there were cameras? Like, are
I
you
didn't
ever
even,
afraid of that sort of thing? Like, I'm in a hotel
um,
room right now. Obviously, this isn't my
I've thought
bedroom.
about it in those, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the first thing they go, okay, this is what you need to do. Step one, go cover the peephole. And I'm like, no. And it's like, step two, they give you all the safety stuff, and I'm like, ugh, I'm good. I'm just gonna put that lock thing on.
Yeah, the
But Airbnbs, those plugs, the outlet for the outlet, it'll say like it'll just be in there, and somebody be like, you think that this is just a plug,
I
and then they
know.
show the tiny camera in it.
Is that real?
What the fuck are people like watching these days though? It's like you can get so much online that like I'm like,
Yeah.
what are you looking like? You really just want to like Truman show somebody?
Yeah, should I worry about that if I get a new place?
No. I just would be
Okay.
I'm not gonna be surprised if your place was bugged this whole time and she's been like going to all of your shows and then like she's gonna have her own stand-up special before yours comes out. It's like about the nightmare tenant. She never talks to me. She just sits in her car.
One time when like they part her daughter has like three parking spots back there because they gave her the guest spot because she wouldn't stop running into her own garage. And so there used to be a guest spot, and that's where I had Shannon's car for like 2 days. And then after that incident, and I said to her, I go,
Hmm.
we're not friends. She was like, I know we're not friends. Like I think that hurt her feelings. But I was like, we're neighbors. Like I'm a friendly person. I'm friends with my other neighbor. But I was like, I'm not your friend. She was basically saying, like, well, my mom's been through a lot. I'm like, where is this coming from? Everybody's been through a lot. Whatever you're gonna say, guarantee it's happened to me worse.
Why do people grab onto shit like that when they're in trouble, they go, well, this is happening. And you're like, no, sit in the shit that you shit out
That
of
you
your butt.
created. Remember, I don't know if you remember this. I know we have to do a two-parter here, right? And beat it
Y-
wrap soon.
yes, we'll wrap soon. We'll talk. Well, tell me what
We
you're
might
gonna
do
say. And also, I think people should call in with their landlord stories too, because now I'm interested.
okay, but let's say that for another. We've
Yeah,
already
we'll save
asked
it.
for medical.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay,
Maybe
we'll
am I
ask you
wrong? Okay.
next time. We'll ask you.
Okay.
Um,
Um, okay, I was just thinking of what you just said, which is like when I was at Dr. Grin's, this is several years ago, and now I have more fans that come because that's a conservative part of town, Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Dr. Grin's is the comedy club. And I won't go back there now. I went there this January, but
I
there was
remember.
like three people getting roofied. I was like, I can't go back. And by the way, not at my show, but it's a nightclub downstairs. And
Hmm.
technically, you could say like, oh, well, that's not the club's fault, X, Y, and Z, because they were putting people's faces up who were like found to be drugging people. Like they're trying, but it's still a scary vibe. And I'm like, I never would
That's
go back.
scary.
The
Yeah.
sound bleed is terrible as well. And the first night the mic was wrong, and I was like, or it wasn't working. It was like tinny. You couldn't hear. I'm like, that's the one thing that I would need. It's like
One,
inviting Bob
just a
Ross to
microphone.
perform, and you're like, wait, you need paints? He's like, yeah, that's the only thing, really. Okay, I mean,
Canvas
and a
and
canvas.
paints.
But all that to say, some guy heckled me, and I would love to tell you what it was. Something about my tits.
I remember you getting heckled, and then I remember somebody throwing that paper
Oh,
at you
that
or
happened
whatever.
recently. That was more recently because
Oh,
always, I don't change my act for the location. So I'm, you know, liberal feminist.
do
See you
you
next
say,
Tuesday.
first of all, I want to say Dr. Grins is a place that absolutely, I mean, it should be a horror movie title. And like if something bad happens at a
It
place called
is for
Dr.
some of those
Grins,
women.
that's on them. Yeah.
It really is.
Listen, it's a horror movie for some, I'm sure some
Yeah.
comics have had some
Yeah.
nights.
And I know, by the way, it's like when it comes to staff, a lot of them are doing their best and like it's a whole system and all these things. So I understand. But this is not the last time where I got something thrown at me, but the couple years ago. Anyway, the manager at the time, he's no longer there. And he's again I don't know why I'm making excuses for him. Maybe he wasn't thinking. He comes up to me in the green room and he's like, "Hey, that guy who heckled you." He's an Army vet and he really
So
wants to talk to you and apologize. I'm like, wait. So that scares me more. It's basically being like, there's a police officer here who kind of wants to talk to about the thing he yelled at you about your body. It's like,
yeah.
okay, no thanks. So that sounds like maybe a no thanks from me.
Hmm.
Like, no, I'm not talking to him. I probably walk over and he like spits in my face. He
But
already
also,
yelled at me.
I don't like people trying to say like my behavior is bad, but I'm an Army vet, so like you have to respect that and let me apologize to you. You're just like, how about you just behave in the show? I don't give a fuck what you've done or where you've been.
Most people would
That's
actually not say their occupation to associate it with their bad behavior. Don't tell
right.
her that I am a public school teacher
Yeah.
because I treated you inappropriately. And that might reflect upon my line of work and the people who choose to do it.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's a, like, of course you respect, there are professions where it has like, that patriotic respect or whatever. And I
Yeah,
mean,
there's plenty.
I
I know
respect,
vets that I went to college with, and I
yeah,
respect the hell out of them. Of course,
listen,
it's not a monolith.
of course you can like respect that, but that doesn't give you a lifetime worth of like bad behavior
Passes.
or like a past that like, oh well, I was in the National Guard, and it's like, so
You
like
did
that
something
is
weird.
that listen, I took ROTC as a gym course in college, okay? You don't see me out here like, hey, sorry I ran into your car, but I took ROTC as a college course.
And also, in my life, it's like we definitely had officers throughout my lifetime. I've had an officer really help our family and look out for us when I was young. I've also been in a bad situation myself and made the conscious choice to not call the police because I didn't feel like that would help me. So, you know, again, not one, no one profession's a monolith, just like all comics aren't the same. Yada yada.
Yeah. Mhm.
Maybe that goes without saying, but I feel the need because people, I think, associate, liberal feminists by being like anti whatever this or that. It's like
We're
there's
anti-bad
always
behavior,
yeah,
you know?
there's always a spectrum of of everything really.
I think that we should be able to use that, like, we're comics if we do anything bad, because that actually makes sense.
There's no HR. I never went to school for this. What do you expect?
Yeah. I'm like, we like so many of us, not you, dropped out of college to tell jokes. It's like what you expect us to know all of the social cues. Like, no, I'm a comic. So I didn't pay my bill.
Well, you tell that army vet that I'm a comedian, and that's why I don't want to talk to him because I
Yeah.
like one-sided conversation.
You're like, my work is done for the night.
That seemed like the scariest situation for me to be in. He yelled at me from stage.
Yeah.
Why would I want to see him face to face? He also looked huge.
I
He's
told
like,
you,
"Oh, well,
remember,
I think he wants to apologize." I'm like, "But you
I
don't
think
know."
also it's like I already had one awkward conversation with this person. I don't need to have another. Like, I don't need to forgive this man. I'm never going to think about him again. I mean, I'm going to talk about him on a podcast 4 years later, but other
I
than that,
am. Other than that, I'm out.
and for those reasons, I'm out. Okay, I do have a few more minutes, but
Oh yeah.
I wanted to tell you I'm in Cleveland. Uh,
Ooh, Ohio.
I'm in Ohio. I'm in your home state. And this month of August,
This
I've
month.
been, this month I've been to Cincinnati, Columbus, and Cleveland.
That's
All,
3 Ohio hotspots.
and I mean, it's just, there are a lot of cities in Ohio and they're kind of far from each other, but I I feel like with that, and I've been to Dayton and I've driven through Ohio a few times. I'm like, I really feel like I get Ohio.
Are you thinking about
And
moving there?
what do you think? Do you think I could ever live in Cleveland? Like, hell no. So far, somebody was yelling at me from the street by a casino, and he was like, "Yeah, bitch, I'm talking to you." And I was just
Stop.
like, Yeah,
What
he
did he
was.
say to you, Mo? That's so
That's
scary.
what he kept saying. Yeah, bitch, I'm talking to you. And then I was looking around for this coffee shop. I'm literally the only person on the street. I'm
You
like,
go
what?
back to him and you go, "Hey, actually, this bitch is wondering where that. You know the location I'm going to be at for the next couple hours."
Yeah, yeah. It was this place called Milk and Honey, and I was like, what the fuck? By the way, a lot of places just closed on Sundays in Cleveland. I'm like, you don't need coffee on Sundays? So anyway,
That's
that guy's
frustrating.
that guy's yelling at me, and
Did you hear
then
anything
there
else, Mo? Or he like what was he
no,
saying?
he just
Catcalling?
no, it was like there was, I mean, I think he was dealing with some issues. I'll give him that. And because it was
Okay.
not like, listen, if he was really specific, I'd be like, okay, maybe I'll say something. But because he was just calling me like, hey bitch, I'm like, that's like nothing. I can't.
Mhm.
It's like
Right.
taking candy from a baby if I try to roast this guy. You
Right.
know?
Like, stop calling me by my birth name. How do you know me?
I'm like waiting for him to laugh. I'm like,
We
oh,
had a guy yell at us too on our way home. Anyway, please keep going.
oh
So,
yeah. So
you feel like you have a good grasp on Ohio?
yeah, I do. And I think it's very similar to Illinois and Indiana. And
Hey.
are they feel like the same. I like that there's like lake culture, it seems like in Cleveland and other parts of
Mhm.
Ohio. I think that helps save it a bit. But anyway, I'm doing my last show with Brett tonight.
And
And
for those listeners, you guys know Brett Goldstein from Ted Lasso
yes,
and other things as well.
and I
When
love
you say
opening.
last, I'm sorry, can I just say that I realize I'm interrupting repeatedly and I want to apologize?
That's fine.
When you say
Hey
last,
bitch. Hey bitch.
hey bitch, I'm talking to you. Last for a while?
Oh, sorry. Last show of Cleveland. So
Got it.
we did two shows last night. We did like an early show and a late show. And then the night before, we did it early and a late in Rhode Island.
Wow.
And uh, I always say something about the city. I love opening for his crowd because it's almost like, I mean, sometimes it doesn't work, but like a lot of times it is bulletproof, just going out there and talking about, anything. And I remember that being like so magical seeing shows early on. And like, I'm like, oh my God, they wrote that from the airport to here. They wrote, like, they must have come up with it then. Like, how did they do that? And so I love doing it. And I realize, I don't know if this is on your algorithm. This comes up all the time for me for some reason, but there was this, and this is a bit of a sour story. Um, in Cleveland in like 1986, they tried to release the most balloons ever for the Guinness Book of World Records. And there were like a gazillion balloons. It looks like a horror movie where there's just like a swarm of bees. And there was like a storm or something like that. So they didn't all go up. A lot of them were going into traffic. They were in the lake. They were all in Lake Erie,
No.
and like, oh yeah, it was so terrible and like the worst idea ever. And I remember, but like this morning I woke up and I was like, oh my God, did that balloon thing happen in Cleveland? This is gonna be gold. I'm gonna let you know how it goes because sometimes I do uh the bit about the place bombs. So
Yeah.
I'll let you know if they like want to remember that memory or
It's
if
like
they
me
don't.
opening in Tulsa about Black Wall Street. Hey, remember the most horrific event in American history?
And
I
they're
mean,
like,
it's not the
wow.
same thing as it's not the same thing at all as the Great Balloon Drop of Cleveland in '86.
But I will say, yeah, of course not. But it was a bad look for Ohio in general and the Midwest, I'll say.
Yeah,
It's tainted for Illinois as well, just because of the proximity. And
and it probably killed a bunch of animals in the lake.
yeah, it probably killed people, like it probably killed animals in Lake Michigan.
Oh
So
my
anyway, they did
god!
not, the Guinness Book of World Records, it did go in. So it's like, at least they got that, but then they stopped doing that category. And I'm like, it's just like, there are things that happened in the 80s that you're like, and obviously before, but in the 80s where you're like, okay, so were you guys fucking stupid? Like, I mean,
I agree.
like
It's
when my
basically like
mom,
being like Toledo's like, actually, we want to compete. We're going to do the biggest oil spill of
yeah,
1987.
Exactly. Like my mom, and I know like you've heard it in a joke, but like my mom really did like chain smoke the whole time we were pregnant. And then she smoked in the hospital. And I'm like, even the fact that in the 80s they were like, oh yeah, you can smoke in the delivery room. You're just like, what? In a
I
hospital?
know.
On a plane
I
and
know,
in bus
let alone in friendlies, but also in the hospital,
and friendly.
non-smoke, smoking or non
Yeah. No, it really
friendlies and
was.
the delivery room.
She said we were in the smoking room and I'm like, that is like I mean, because obviously I remember when smoking was banned from bars and oh, this is aging
We
myself,
were
but
in
from bars and
Chicago.
restaurants. And they go, and everyone goes, oh my God, this is like no one is ever gonna want to come out to a restaurant. And I'm like, what? To like be surrounded by cigarette smoke? Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, they're just gonna
Right.
cook at their house so that they can smoke.
That was the best thing that happened, probably. Like I
Yeah.
remember it being a shock, but used to leave Town Hall Pub reeking of cigarette.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, do you remember the smoke coming off our hair in the showers?
Yep.
Yeah.
But to that point of me, I guess it was a silly reference or, whatever, maybe it was a joke and bad taste. But the truth is, when I landed in Tulsa, thankfully, because of course I know of the massacre and Black Wall Street
Hmm.
being burned down. And it is often, and she confirmed it. When a comic from the festival, Sandra, picked me up, and thankfully, because I was only there for less than 24 hours, really. I wasn't there not long at all. But she drove me through and I got to see some of the landmarks because she grew up there. But she was kind of saying, like, the interesting thing about it was because there was so much shame on the town for it, it's such a horrific event. Because she showed
Hmm.
me actually, it was called like, I don't want to get it wrong. Um, I'll look it up. It was like, well, it's in Greenwood, but anyway, she took me to the place where basically the KKK was standing up on this hill and shooting down at people and horror stuff. But she wanted to show me that, and I wanted to see it. And she was kind of explaining that it really was sort of one of those things that was a lot of shame, brushed under the rug, not talked about.
Hmm.
So I was
Yeah.
glad that I, at least in the short time, because there's a bunch of other museums there too. Woody Guthrie, Bob Dylan.
Well, a lot of people
Anyway,
just like even people who were, I mean, we were just talking about this, like the victims or survivors of something, then they don't want to talk about it because it's like I really want to forget. Like I'm not comparing anything to anything. I'm just saying like even
mm-hmm.
the pandemic, we don't like to like write about it. We don't really like to talk about it because it's just like we don't want to think about that time and we want to be like, let's just like, pretend like it never happened. And then in 10 years, we're going to be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, we were talking about, yeah, she just brought up that I think it was her great aunt was one of the last remaining houses standing. She showed me that. I mean, the number was around 300 people killed
Yeah.
in the Greenwood, in the Tulsa massacre. I was just like, dang. She explained that maybe the fest was like, not sure they should include that, which led to a conversation between her and I actually about like when you do play Australia, they often do land acknowledgements. Which
Mm,
anyway, there's all kinds of opinions on all of these things. What's the best way to operate after something horrific?
right.
Acknowledge it, ignore it. Like I
Yeah.
don't know. You learn from trial and error, obviously. But I want to learn about it, so I was glad she took me.
I mean,
But I got to see
I
her great aunt's house. That was one of the remaining ones. And I think I just typed this in and looked it up. And this is not something we talked about. Only two known survivors actually as of this summer.
Jeez.
110-year-old and a
Oh, wow.
109-year-old.
Holy shit.
Viola Fletcher. Yeah, that's pretty incredible. But that just goes to show people are still alive who lived through that.
Right.
Like it's not that
So
long
it wasn't that
ago.
long ago. Yeah.
Anyway,
There's a lot of,
that's certainly a sour story.
but I
But
do like when they have museums and stuff. I think that that's like super important because like I was like kind of icked out by like the world. I stayed in Tribeca after you left and, they have the
mhm.
World Trade Center and like the museum and all of that. And I remember when that first happened, I was just like, it felt like people were just trying to make money off of this tragedy. But then, like,
Mhm.
as time goes by and it becomes less about like keychains and t-shirts and more about like memorializing the people, then it feels better. I mean, I chose to go to the University of Wyoming after the Matthew Shepard thing. Um, as a
Yeah.
closeted lesbian. And uh they I wish that they had more stuff about that because it really changed a lot.
Yeah.
And
I
for the
remember learning about it.
changed a lot for the better. And I think that a lot of the people in the town just go like, that's not what Laramie is about. And like, it was a drug deal. It wasn't because he was gay. And a lot of people told me that opinion. And I was like, listen, in the end, it did change a lot of, it really woke a lot of people up to like gay hate crime. And I don't know.
It's true.
And
Right.
it brought me to
Obviously,
Wyoming. I'm just kidding.
I know that's an interesting. Bye. For those just listening, Mo is slowly sliding off of her hotel chair onto the floor.
In
Oh my gosh.
Cleveland, Ohio.
I forgot to try the Antoinette Rice Krispies. Here, you
Okay,
take a
you
bite.
try that, and I'm gonna try these. I went to a
Take
candy
a bite.
store.
Okay. And I'll try this
I
again.
love gummies. Is it
I do
good?
too.
Second time around?
It's brown butter. No, this is the first time I'm having it. What are you talking about?
You're like, it comes in a
It's
Ziploc
really.
bag.
It comes in a Ziploc bag with a couple bites out of it. That's the Antoinette Bakery way of Tulsa.
And I'm eating a
Oh,
unicorn gummy that
Haribo.
surely has, disgusting preservatives in it. I love when it's like natural and artificial fruit flavors. You're like, oh, good, it's both. It's like, what kind of clout you trying to pull?
Artificial and natural. They kind of cancel each other out. What do you think? Describe those and what they are. And it's shaped like unicorns. It's
Yeah,
Haribo.
it's
State the name and the weight.
Haribo, unicorn, delicious. I actually got them for Cleo, so hopefully she doesn't mind that I opened them. Um, God, I don't know what the weight is, but it's um 23 grams of carbohydrates for 5 pieces. God, that's
I don't
terrible.
even, the good news is I don't even know what that means.
I just know when it's like in the 20s for like a small thing, you're like, whoops. Oh well.
Hold on, it was $20.
No, no, no. It was like
Oh,
$5.
sorry.
It was
We're talking about the
three
damage.
fifty. Yeah, it's 350. And then I got these. I got this. Remember this whistle,
Oh,
the whistle
yes,
sucker,
I do.
and
And you
then
go like,
this a push pop,
oh my goodness, what flavor push pop?
strawberry. I got it. I got it for Cleo. She doesn't ever eat any. She has like 7 licks, and that's fine. But I hope nobody ever judges me for what I feed my child. But
I think you're doing good.
thank God. All right. Do you have any more sweet
Also,
news?
no, I think I just want to say that I will say, because I commented on Bloomington, Indiana experience. I did the Blue Whale Comedy Festival in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was a really awesome experience.
Mm,
I ended up selling out the show. Thanks to everybody who came out. If you listen and you came, I wasn't sure how much merch packs to bring, so I only brought like 10 or something. They all sold out. People were so supportive and lovely. And I got to work with some great local comics. And Johnny Pemberton was on the show. I got to hang with him. I hadn't seen him in a while. And like I said, it was Sandra who took me around. But it was her. I looked it up. Her great aunt was Mabel B. Little, the Heritage House. You can go visit. So anyway, I definitely want to come. Sweet story is thank you, Tulsa. Like people described it as like a little blue dot in a pretty conservative place. It kind of just
yeah.
reminds me of times where I would tour with Sarah and we'd go to Texas early days and Silverman and I'd be like, interesting, like to be in Texas, but there's always people in these towns that, need you and want to come and
Hmm.
hear from somebody from, who might even be like I call myself, on the more liberal feminist side. Because I don't change my act, like I said. So it's interesting. I never know how people are going to respond to it, but um, you know, people were very receptive and I had a good time. So it was a sweet trip. And the only thing I want to do is go back and spend more time there. So hopefully I can do like a weekend there at the Lowdown or something and go to
Did
the
you
Greenwood Cultural Center.
did you get a good coffee?
I used one of my instants
Mm.
from Canyon Coffee because I went to Antoinette's and I ate at the tavern, but I was there for like, I landed at, who knows, 3, did a show at 7, left at 7 the next morning. So it was really quick. that's why I'm grateful Sandra took me around to those places not as fast as she could, but a quick tour. So I got to go back.
Gotta go back to, I've never been to Oklahoma,
You and I could go back together.
and that'll be our next vacation, our birthday vacation. Go to Oklahoma, see all of the cities in Oklahoma.
Should we just do a full Oklahoma tour?
I think Sweethearts could do an Oklahoma tour.
I
Absolutely.
liked, oh, okay. OKC, though, is Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma? Sometimes I'm stupid and I get confused with Kansas City, Missouri. Why
Oh
does my
yeah,
brain
yeah.
do that?
Why did they do that to us is the question. Why was
Right.
Kansas City like this is a good idea? We don't know, and we'll never know. I'll have to ask Caleb Huron because he's from there.
I think I'm gonna go actually and do a fundraiser for some people in the OKC community with him on the holidays.
Mm.
Do you have any
I, I
last sweet things?
I don't do fundraisers. It's just against my religion.
I was like, I only get paid.
Yeah, I already don't get paid to do comedy for most of the time. Um, no, I was crying in the bathroom earlier
You were?
because yeah, because I was going to the bathroom finally. Thank you. What's that coffee shop? I Lionheart
Honey and
Coffee.
milk. Oh,
Yeah, they were closed. So Hey Bitch went to Lionheart Coffee. It was very good. And I don't know, it helped me go to the bathroom. I was on TikTok and it was just a sweet video of this
in this
woman who was
tell me.
like a 92-year-old woman who went to IKEA for the first time. And she was like just on the phone with like her daughter or something. She's like, oh, or like her friend, you're like, oh, surely you'd love it. They've got everything, anything you'd want for your house. They've got artificial plants, they've got real ones, they've got pots, and they have pillows. And it was genuinely just like so. And I was like, I love in life when you find those feelings of just being so like tickled by something. And I think I just really
Yeah,
love seeing uh people who are older in their 90s discover something and be so and they're just like so happy about it. It just makes me I don't know, just makes me
it's
cry on a
pure.
toilet. Yeah.
Cry on a toilet.
I was crying. I was just like, God, you know, there's some of those accounts where it's just like happiness and you're watching every video and I'm like, okay, and I'm crying again. And here comes someone else in camo surprising their kid at school. Okay, well, here come the tears. Meanwhile, it's the guy
When they
who
don't
is
know their
like, wait
dad's
me.
behind them. Oh, I mean, that is the craziest part is when you look at an Insta or Facebook comment and some guy's like, hope you didn't quit your day job. And then you click on his profile and it's him with like 3 young kids. It's like, are you okay?
No,
Spend time focusing on helping them flourish instead of randomly taking down and saying negative things to someone you do not know.
those people
You know
are
what I
not
mean?
okay. Those people on those men on Facebook who come after us who all look like the same guy, they're not okay.
I've been replying per usual. Anyway,
It's healthy.
so yeah. Shout out to Johnny Pemberton. That was fun. Sandra Slade, who took me around town. Appreciate you in Tulsa. Shout out to those cuties, Caleb and Hannah, who laminated. Shout out to Brett Goldstein.
Yeah.
Shout out to
Shout
that
out.
guy who called Mo. Hey, Brett.
Yeah. Hey, bitch, he humbled me. And I keep telling you guys, and I keep telling the universe, I don't need to be humbled. Okay, I've had enough of that in my career.
You know, give it to her not straight. Give it to her Kirby.
Mm-hmm. Jesus. Okay, well, I'm gonna be
I
back
love you.
home tomorrow, and then I'm going to Hawaii.
Yes, you get to enjoy a little vacation before you're back to work again.
I'm gonna have a little
And
family vacation.
you're going to see family who live there, right?
No, we're
Your
actually
family?
not going to that
Part of
island.
town.
Well,
Okay.
yeah,
Island, yeah. Okay. I'm
part
glad
of
you get a
town.
family
Yeah.
vacation.
Yeah. But we will, I'll be checking
Oh,
in
I
with
have those
you.
recommendations for you for
Okay,
where you're
great.
going.
Yes. Oh my God, will this come out in time? Because probably, yeah, I think it will. I mean, I'm just saying last second, you don't even have to call us for it. If you on our Instagram, message me. I love recommendations for a place I've never been and I'm going to Kauai. And if
Yeah.
people have recommendations, let me know. I have a list going. And eventually, I actually think Beth and I are going to be tastemakers and we're going to, I feel like we could tell everybody where to get coffee and sweets in every city in America due to us being on
Someday.
stand up tour.
I want
That
you to go to Wiki Pizza, which is in a hotel and it's very, very good.
okay.
Okay. And Bar Akuta. Those are my Kauai recommendations.
Okay,
I would
great.
say Kauai Ono, but I think it unfortunately shuttered in the pandemonium.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Well, I love you and I will see you soon,
And
not on
Hanalei Bread
Zoom.
Company. Hanalei Bread Company is where you're going to go for coffee and treats in the morning.
I think I've been there. Is
It's
that
on
on other
Coral.
islands? Okay, maybe not.
I don't know.
In my
Okay, sorry to
dreams.
interrupt. I love you all.
Okay, love you, sweethearts. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you're watching on Zoom, this has been a crazy episode.